Welcome back. I'm Vanessa Roberts, and we're talking with Ashish Kott, CEO of Technomile, about best practices in managing federal contracts. So right before we left, we were talking about some of the capabilities of your suite of tools, and especially how some of them are super user-friendly, how they're great on mobile. Let's talk about a few more of those things.
Sure. Would love to talk about a couple of features that are really resonating with our customers and setting our capabilities apart from what is available in the marketplace. One is a feature that we recently launched called Intelligent Contract Ingestion. One of the pain points that we saw is the contract professionals were dealing with a large amount of paper activities. So they would have piles and piles of papers that they had to manage. So our ICI tools allows contract professionals to digitally extract information from these contracts, both contract document as well as solicitation document, which are intelligently parsed, extracted, and presented to the contracts team to review and create intelligent decision-making process, which shaves off a lot of hours. And the other feature is agreement management. When you engage with your teaming partners, with your subcontractor, traditionally it's a lot of email exchange back and forth. And then you get a red line document back, then you are comparing that document with the version that you had before. So our agreement management feature allows the contract professionals to draft the documents, electronically send them to our client, to their partners, get a response back from them, compare those documents, which allows them to make intelligent decisions, because now you can compare the terms that you are agreeing on that particular activity with what you had done in the past, so that you can drive the best decision for your clients.
Which is critical. I mean, that's what everybody wants data for, right? The right data
Yeah.
at the right times, they can make good decisions.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about the time that's shaved. Do you have a sense of how much time savings there is on some of these things? Have you been able to measure that, or maybe some of the clients that you've worked with have been able to tell you how that shaved time for them?
So it is hard to designate because each company is dealing with different volume of contract. But we are just engaged with one of the client who has around 2,000 plus contracts they had to digitally transform into an actionable work. And they were able to do that using the capabilities that we are offering. And that continues to be one of the biggest need for our clients, is how do they make this paper-based process and make it intelligent by using the technology like the machine learning, artificial intelligence that is available in order for them to utilize these features for managing these government contracts.
Right. Well, you just hit on what I was actually going to talk about next, because obviously you're talking a little bit about unstructured data, right? The fact that there's a lot of unstructured data out there, not just on paper, but in other places too. So talk about the evolution of natural language processing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, how these types of things are actually benefiting, contracts management. And that's such a hot topic generally for federal contractors, and it's what the government's seeking from them too. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Core to Technomile's mission is empowering our clients to use the data, both the data that is housed in their internal system as well as publicly available data. There's tremendous amount of publicly available data as well. And the challenge is, how do you use that data and translate that data to your unique challenges? So what we have done is the capabilities where you can amalgamate the data that the clients have, which is core to them, and then merge that with the data that is publicly available. And two examples that we would like to talk about is, how do you use the historical spending data for a specific agency, and use that to track your win-loss rates, and then compare that where you have been successful and where the agencies are going. The other part is the data that Technomile offers, which is core contact data. So we keep track of all of the government officials and how they are changing, the new people who are coming into the organizations, and then create effectively the call plans so that you can identify who should you be talking to. There is a lot of information that you have internally, that a relationship that your team have, but then you also need to know what changes are happening on the government side and really merge those two to make those intelligent decisions. We also see the data on the contracts team using this machine learning and AI. Like for example, your CPARS data, the user performance data that you can track, that will give you the risk evaluations, that will give you the fulfillment strategies, delivery tracking, subcontractor management, go no-go decisions. All of this is data that you have while you have done the work with these government agencies in the past and utilize that data with the natural processing languages, the machine learning, artificial intelligence to streamline the review cycles for learning and making the better decisions in the future.
Well, one of the things you hear people talk a lot about is they always hear machine learning, AI, and they think this is replacing people, but it's not really. Can you talk a little bit about how it's really helping people make better decisions and how it helps the team actually focus on the things that matter in contracting, right?
Yeah, and the technology is really enabling all of these users to make better decisions. Currently today, if you're dealing with lot of paper trails, you're just lost in translating that paper trail, and a lot of productivity is lost in just doing the mundane task of just managing contract, which is when you said the contracts may be boring. And while it isn't, there is a lot of information that is available, and our platform allows them to really track, like you talked about Buy American clause. Well, if that clause is included in certain contract, then you need to know a specific decision-making process that needs to be taken. There are several mandatory flow-down clauses that are getting added because of the cybersecurity evolution. So when you're dealing with your subcontractor, you want to make sure you're in compliant. And there's a lot of talk about NIST capabilities that is happening in the government. So our platform allows all of our users to use this information to make faster decisions, which allows companies to be more productive and also manage the risk that is involved in dealing with the government.
And how does that information help teams? You know, you alluded to this in one of your answers, but how does that information help teams decide what's the right contract to go for, what's the wrong ones to go to, where that, you know, where that line is? It sounds like that this tool can help you with that to some degree.
Sure. So the contracts that you just ended up executing will have a lot of information associated with it. It's either sitting on piece of paper that you received from the government as your CPARS response, or you have tremendous amount of data that is sitting in your ERP systems, like how much billing data that you had, what was your profitability. And when these contracts either coming up for recompete, or you are now dealing with the similar capability across other agencies, now you can glean all of this information together in order to say what should be your pricing strategy, what risk is inherently involved, how you performed in the past, so that you use that data to not only be effective on the contract that you are delivering, but also build the right strategy for the new opportunities that you want to pursue.
Right, so that's the real value that you actually get from that natural language processing, bringing all that information in so you can actually look at it.
Yes, indeed.
Let's talk for a second, though, a little bit about that modeling and that with technology, and that's a key element, and how you train the models appropriately. Can you talk about that a little bit?
That's a great question. So obviously government has many forms. There are various contracts documents, and Technomile platform has been evolving rapidly, and we continue to support various terms of clause, the documents that different agencies use. But there is a lot of documents that organizations are dealing with various suppliers, various subcontractors. So inherently, you need a machine learning platform and artificial intelligence platform that not only we can extend, but our clients can really develop their own capability and extend it for their own use. So we have built a platform that we not only are making it better, but several of our clients are using that and enriching that to get using their own teams, and it has taken its own form where a lot of clients are doing so many things that are unique to just their own specific business.
Thinking on the horizon, what do you see for some of these technologies going forward? Maybe a little crystal ball, something you'd be willing to share with us about what you guys are working on?
Sure. So we are partnering up with our clients in order to to determine how best to use this technology for their unique challenges. A couple of instances that I will talk about is one is how does all of this machine learning data inherently allows our clients to identify risk before they even submit their proposal, which is always one of the biggest challenges. What risk am I taking on when I particularly respond to either a fixed price proposal or a cost plus proposal? And a lot of that data is really needs to be extracted from the solicitations document and then marry that data up with the core capabilities that the organizations have so that you can calculate the risk that is involved. And it's very different from one company to other company. What is risky for one organization may not be as much risky for another organization. The other part is there is a lot of tremendous challenges associated with staffing on these government contracts. There is a pool of resources that you have available as your organization, and then you have these proposals and solicitations you are responding, or you have contracts that you need to fill requirements for. You need to identify the resources that you may already have and then anticipate what type of future skills that are required, what labor rates are agreed upon on this contract, so that you can make an intelligent decisions. And all that information and all those decision-making process is where we see this platform evolving in terms of as we go forward.
That actually sounds super fascinating, like where the potential is for it. Before we go, I would like to ask you something kind of personal though. We'll go back to like a little bit about you. You know, business leaders always want to know what other business leaders are doing to like keep themselves on top of things, how they're training and learning themselves. What are some things you do? What do you read? What do you look at? How do you keep your brain going?
So Washington, D.C. provides a lot of opportunities for an organization like ours, and especially to me. I'm passionate about technology and I'm also passionate about government contracts. So we have a lot of organizations like PSC, ACT-IACT, and FCA, and we participate in those very actively. I recently attended the Wharton's Aerospace Conference, where a lot of defense companies collaborate with Wharton Business School in order to identify how do you use the innovation that is happening in universities to solve the complex government problems. Also looking forward to attending the PSC's annual conference. And then Washington, D.C. offers a lot of opportunities for technology companies, like we are involved with NVTC, Association for Growth, Mindshare. These are all the organizations that provide technology capabilities and as well as the government capabilities. And when it comes to like personally reading, I read a lot about and listen to a lot of podcasts like Learning by Leaders, the Table Group. So all of those information, there's so much content available, and just trying to identify all of these various sources and really find the time to enrich your lives.
Ashish, I just want to thank you so much for coming today. It was great to talk to you and learn so much about Technomile. I'm Vanessa Roberts. To learn more about federal contract management best practices, visit federalnewsnetwork.com and search Technomile.